In this video, we're going to be going over the SMITE mid-season update notes, which is a pretty big patch, a lot of actual updates rather than cosmetics, and some bug fixes, so we're going to be going over it, starting with the cosmetics. First, we have Sweetie Pie Soul, which voice pack's not working. Power Up Hera.
Oh, come on. You're not gonna back away now, are ya?
Then we have Fun Apocalypse Shibalante.
Me? A mascot? If you keep saying that, I'll make you the mascot of the dead.
That's great. I can't wait to see what that looks like in-game. Sweet Justice Nemesis.
Do be careful. Too much sugar will kill you.
Rematch Hera, which is a recolor to this. I think they're doing the, Prestige Battle Pass. They're going to do the same thing they do with Paladins.
Okay, I got another. Your mama is so fat, she counts as a pentakill.
Great Tengu, I think, Kernunos.
Victory is but a small island surrounded by an ocean of blood.
Then we have Snow Strix Ra.
Try not to get frostbite now, child.
That skin looks fantastic. Actually, all these skins look pretty awesome for the most part in here. Infantry
I'll
Sylvanas.
show you, or they call me the tank.
I love Sylvanas. Just because it's like two different types of skins you get, obviously. I mean, Scotty and other gods are like that, but I don't know. It's just different with Sylvanas.
It's been 1,000 years since I've last set foot above ground. It still smells of fear and weakness.
Molten Shogun Erlang. Now, I'm a big fan of all these types of skins, so I'm suckered in. And I actually didn't realize it was Molten until obviously the name, but like you see the skin here, because he just kind of looks like a Dark Knight rather than giving off the Molten vibe. So we'll have to see what he looks like in game. Zappy Chibi Zeus. I'm usually not a fan of the Chibi skins, but this one looks interesting.
Bow before me, puny god.
Then we have Spirit Sun Hoi.
What good is all this power if there's nothing fun to do with it?
It's an interesting one. I'm not sure what the theme for that is. But the release dates of these, the Sweet Victory Battle Pass will be coming out on July 23rd. The Battle Pass, or Battle for Olympus number 7 on the 30th. Great Tengu Chest August 2nd. So that'll be, which one was the Great Tengu? I don't know. You can scroll back up in the video and look at those. But then we have the Battle Worn Chest coming out August 6th and Battle for Olympus number 8 on the 13th. Now, this one I thought was really cool. So they're going to be adding these gods to the AI matches and custom bots. So that's a significant amount. Not going to read through all of them. Again, you could pause that and read them. And then we have new skins rotating into the mixer store here. Chef Special Kepri, Shadowclaw, Bastet, and Hunbats. Then we have bug fixes here. There's a lot of them. So again, I'm not going to read over bug fixes because they're just bugs that aren't in the game anymore. So I don't really see the point in reading over them. But I'll kind of slowly scroll through, and you can pause it and read them if you do choose. And I will link this website down in the description so you can read everything yourself as well. So for Project Olympus, they added a HUD minimap indicator to show which team owns the Pyromancer buff for Conquest. The Battle Passes now have a Prestige track, so completing the Prestige Pass will reward an alternate color version of the Power Up Hera. So basically, you do the Battle Pass, and I guess you do the Battle Pass again, and then you get the recolor. After the Battle Pass is completed, players will... Okay, yeah, basically what I just said. Level will get easier again, as if you were starting the Battle Pass over. Free players can earn Prestige Pass progress as well. The usual free and premium tracks have not had any changes to their XP requirements or pricing, and rewards are generally in the same places as previous passes. For the console lobby chat, they added a new shortcut to input custom message text. This uses the same button combo as in-match lobby by pressing RB after initiating the VGS lobby. They relocated the Alpic Assassin and Alpic Jungle from RB to LB to make room for custom chat and the same button presses as in-game. Alternatively, custom chat can be accessed in the lobby through LB for those who need better category guidance to find the chat. So this is like speaking Spanish to me because I don't play on console. So I did a while ago, but even then it's been so long that I don't remember the button combos. PC UI chat window updates. Players can just kick into the chat box to type click into the chat box to type. Players no longer get to preview text, but just a call out for new messages, and players can now use tab to tab through the active chat channels to chat more easily. It's a lot of chat. Special message window update. Special messages about events or new updates will now use UI art and system that matches the newer SMITE UI. Added an invite to clan button for clan leaders. Now Nintendo Switch uses the high-res names instead of gamer tags. Upon first logging in, you will be prompted to update your name. Names will now be checked for availability and restricted words. You might need to make a new name. Linked accounts to PC will not need to make new names. So this is just for Switch, I guess. So new ranked split is beginning. Split 4, players will undergo a soft reset, placing them in specific division determined by the end of their split MMR, while also moving players' MMR values closer to the average. For the split, we have reduced the intensity of the MMR soft reset by half. Players should find their MMR values to be more significantly closer to their end of the split MMR when the new split begins. Reduce the Conquest ranked queue time. Since the start of Season 6, ranked Conquest has been on the rise, becoming more core mode and more players. What are we doing here? The end of the goal is the shortest queue time, the highest match ranking possible, or matchmaking quality. Reduce the queue time from 9 minutes to 7 minutes. Ranked is in a healthier state that has been in a while. I'm not going to read over that. More bans in all ranked game modes, so increase the ban count from 8 to 10 in all modes. So the Conquest, the 2 new bans are added at the end of the first ban phase. For Joust, it's the same thing, and for Duel, the 2 new bans are added to the only ban phase, obviously. Quicker draft lobbies, decrease the pick time from 30 seconds to 20 seconds, decrease the ban time from 30 seconds to 15 seconds, and then increase the bank time from 30 seconds to 40 seconds. It's a good change. New tree item, which is the Arthurian tree. So kicking off the mid-season balance, we are bringing in a whole new tree. It's themed around the Gem of Fate, which is crafted into a weapon of legend, empowering the wielder at just the right moment. Each item has a powerful passive effect that activates when when the holder finishes casting their ultimate ability and focuses on pushing classes that can wield into specific power. Okay, so this is how many items we got here? It seems like a good bit, so we're gonna go ahead and read over all of them. So for tier 1, we have Gem of Fate, and it said it's crafted around that. So that's gonna be the base one. It costs 900, and it gives you a 10% cooldown reduction. Tier 2, we have Horned Edge, which is gonna give you 10% cooldown reduction and 30 physical power. They're all gonna cost 1600. The Apprentice Staff will give you 10% cooldown reduction, but 50 magical power. The Knight's Shield will give you the same cooldown, but it'll split it up in protections with 25 physical and 25 magical. So you have physical power, magical power, and a protection tier. Fail Not builds from the Horned Edge, the first one. I'm not going to read through that. It's Hunter only. It's cost 2,800. Gives you 20% cooldown reduction, 50 physical power, 25% crit, and the passive is after you finish casting your ultimate, your next ability will cast within 5 seconds, or your next ability cast within 5 seconds that damages an enemy god marks them, increasing the chance they will be critically struck by 15% for 10 seconds, can only trigger once every 45 seconds. That's a pretty damn good passive, especially for hunters. You just increase crit upon the crit that you already have from the item. Aranite? I don't know. Not going to pronounce that. This is for warrior and assassins only. So they split this up majorly into, class specific. It's going to cost 2,800 gold, a little more expensive. Or no, wrong one. 2,600 gold, so it's cheaper than the hunter one. It's going to give you 10% cooldown reduction and 55 power, so not as many base stats. The passive, however, after casting your ultimate, reveal all enemies within 120 feet of you. While moving towards revealed targets, you gain 30% increased movement speed. When a revealed enemy takes damage from you for the first time, they take an additional 40 plus 30% of your physical power. Enemies are revealed for 8 seconds can trigger. Okay, I'm laughing because I'm just thinking about low-key with this. Just, it's not like gonna make him OP or anything, it's just gonna make him that much more annoying. When you've taken consideration that he's gonna get a movement speed boost off the one he already gets while invis, and he can just ult you, triggering that damage for the first time, so then you're just gonna take more. Yeah, that's gonna be interesting. Staff of Merlin, I believe, builds from the apprentice staff, so it's going to be for mages and guardians only. Costs 2,800 gold, so the same as the hunters. That's going to give you 10% cooldown and 100 magical power. After casting your ultimate, your next ability, non-ultimate ability, your next non-ultimate ability, I think, cast within the next 10 seconds will have no cooldown, but will only hit for 70% of its normal damage and heal for 70% of its normal healing. Can trigger once. So, I'm trying to think of like who specifically that would really work with off the top of my head, and I can't. If you guys think of one, let me know in the comments, because I'm sure it'd be good for something. I don't know. I'm trying to think of somebody who can really use that well. Then we have Pridwen, builds from the Knight's Shields. They got some weird names on this one. Costs 2,400 gold, so cheaper than all of them, and it is available for all classes. It's going to give you 20% cooldown reduction, 45 physical protection, 45 magical protection. After casting your ultimate, you gain a large shield equal to your protections for 5 seconds. When this shield breaks, either by timing or being depleted, it explodes and deals magical damage equal to 50% of the shield's health, and slowing targets for 25% for 3 seconds, can only trigger once every 45 seconds. That would be fun, really, really fun to use on guardians that have heavy shields. That's going to be an interesting one. I really like this tree. I'm trying to think of like a build that it would really work into off the top of my head, but it'll be fun to experiment with nonetheless. And then Aegean, I don't know, another name I don't know how to say. It's going to cost 2,050 gold, another new item. Builds from the silver breastplate. It's going to give you 60 physical protection, 100 health, 250 mana, 15 mana per 5, and an aura with enemy gods within 55 units having their healing reduced by 25%, and it does not stack with pestilence. So for the item balancing, demonic grip. What do we got here? A large portion comes down to bring mage, ADCs, and hunters closer together. Demonic grip and hasten ring are seeing cost increases, while core hunter items are seeing a small cost reductions or increase in power. So demonic grip, we're bumping the cost of it to par with more physical power than executioner. Okay, so they're just kind of balancing basically what they said in here, balancing the magical and physical counterparts. So for demonic grip and executioner, they're going to make them more equal essentially. Increase the cost of demonic grip from 2,150 to 2,300. Hasten ring gets an increased cost from 2,300 to 2,700. Also gets an increased magical power from 50 to 70. So big changes there. Buff, but also a nerf because of the price, but just more of a balance. Doom Orb reduced the magical power per stack from 6 to 4 and increased the base magical power from 135 to 145. We're shifting some of the power away from the stacks and onto the base item to make it more consistent while still allowing players to min-max its effect in lane. Spear of Desolation, passive change from 1 second to 2 seconds. This adjustment should lead to better performance on mages who have a more difficult time dealing multiple instances of damage. Ethereal Staff, decreased the cost from 2,600 to 2,500 while increasing the max health stolen from 5% to 6%. We want to give both these aspects a little nudge to help us stand out. Ethereal Staff provides a unique effect, but the cost and potency of the effect made it often overlooked choice. Okay, so I guess they just want it bought more often, essentially. Jade Emperor's Crown reduced the cost from 2,150 to 2,100 and then increased the health from 100 to 150. Strong aura, but lacks some selfish stats for the wearer. A small health buff and cost reduction should make this feel more sturdy pickup. Hasten Katana increased the cost from 2,300 to 2,500. Talaria Boots decreased the physical power from 20 to 15. This change will cause the wearer to sacrifice some more physical power, which is a fair choice considering how potent the movement speed can be. Ninja Tabai gets an increased attack speed from 20% to 25%. So nerf to Talaria, but a buff to Ninja. Concise increased attack speed from 15% to 20%. The class as a whole has been struggling. Having stronger core items for hunters will bolster the class in general and give them more resilience toward meta shifts going forward. So Wind Demon gets a cost decrease from 2600 to 2500. Each of all, same thing, 2600 to 2450. Runic Shield increased the health from 150 to 200. This change should make being a team player feel even better and provide another possible counter option to mid-mages or mage ADCs that are leveling out of control. Gauntlet of Thebes decreased the cost from 2400 to 2350 and increased the base health from 275 to 300. Bulwark of Hope reduced the cost from 2400 to 2300 and increased the health from 200 to 250. Talisman of Energy passive duration increased from 8 seconds to 10 seconds, and then Relic Dagger increased the cooldown reduction from 30 seconds to 40 seconds. So a lot of item changes there and a fairly decent amount of new items as well. So for the god balances, yeah, a lot there as well. So this video is going to be a pretty long video. Alright, so AMC. Bees contribute a heavy amount of base damage early, while Swarm can scale to do a significant portion of damage. This should give him more windows to be countered or outplayed. So they're going to decrease the base damage of bees from 9 to 5, while decreasing Swarm base damage. Used to be 60 to 280, is now 60 to 260. And also decreasing the physical power scaling from 80% to 70%. Impale on her is receiving a small pre-fire adjustment to better line up with his animation, and Desert Fury will now display a targeter while firing, helping on her players line up their shots. So Shifting Sands increased the damage, used to be 4 to 20%, is now 8 to 20%. The increased range from 65 to 70. Impale reduced the pre-fire time, used to be 0.2 seconds, is now 0.17. And Desert Fury again with the animation there. Apollo gets an Audacity change. Each damaging ability now adds 2 stacks of Audacity for each enemy god hit. This move still adds 1 stack for hitting enemy minions, however. And the moves increase duration of the buff and debuff from 2 seconds to 3 seconds. The moves is also getting boosted. Okay. Ares, Searing Flesh. This ability now deals magical damage equal to 5% max health per tick to non-boss minions only at all ranks. Okay. So it still deals 1, 1, 2, 2, and 3% to gods. He has to snowball early, and even then he still struggles. Searing Flesh will now deal additional damage to minions, giving him more clearing agency that will help him conquest. Okay, so I want to know how much this will be of a boost to clearing lane. Like, I doubt it's going to be so much to where he could, like, just confidently play solo and clear the lane. I don't think it's going to be that much, but it'd be curious to see how drastic it is. Shock gets a decreased cooldown on Torrent from 15 seconds to 13 seconds. And for Stormcall, the knockback from this effect now knocks enemy players straight up. Erlang, the the illustrious Sage has resurged in popularity. The given items high damage. Spot weaknesses provides a large amount of free power that works well with Mink's stem. With a lower amount of base power, Erlang players will need to choose tank or damage. So Spot weakness decreased the base damage from 25 to 85 to 15 to 75. And I think these little things here mean that it was like community feedback that they really listened to. I'm pretty sure. So that must have been a high complaint. For Fafnir, Curse Strength gets a decreased attack speed buff. Used to be 15 to 35%, is now 10 to 30%. And a decreased bonus damage, used to be 5 to 25%, is now 4 to 20%. For Freya, we have a decreased range base damage on her Aurora Blade. Used to be 16 to 60, is now 1 to 40. Whoa, big change. And then increase the range scaling from 10 to 15%. We're shifting her damage around, heavily lowering her base damage of Aurora Blade. Provides while increasing its scaling. This will decrease Freya's ability to outbox enemies in the first waves, while still letting her to scale into the late game. Okay. For Isis, whoa, it changes all around here to Isis. So Funeral Rites increase the range from 30 to 40 units. Spirit Ball, you can now refire this ability at any point after firing it. This includes while under the effect of crowd control and while dead. All right. So removed the post fire from this ability from 0.1 to 0. Dispel Magic no longer provides a boost to magical protection. It instead provides a shield to Isis and nearby allies. This shield is applied within 40 units of Isis or the dispelled target. Shield health 90 to 250 plus 40% increased potency per additional target hit. This caps at 80% potency, 3 gods hit. The duration remains unchanged. So that's a really good change. That's going to be interesting because I'm not saying Dispel Magic sucked. It was just one of my least favorite abilities in the game. I don't know. I didn't play Isis that much, but I don't know. I just didn't use it that much. Circle of Protection increased the base healing from 80 to 160 to 110 to 190, and then increased the mitigations obtained from 15 to 20% is now 25% at all ranks. So a major buff there. So yeah, complete changes all the way around. And again, little thing there, so I guess that was community feedback. I guess people really wanted Isis changed. Teams can fight more aggressively inside this field, while Isis can use this in a more defensive manner to answer tanks. So that's for the Circle of Protection. Yeah, that's going to be really interesting. Merlin Eclipse decreased the magical power scaling on the initial hit from 60% to 55%. Decrease the magic power scaling of the tick damage from 10% scaling to 8%. Blizzard increased the time of deploy of this ability from 0.5 to 0.7. And then Elemental Mastery increased the cooldown, used to be 28 to 20, is now 32 to 20, so more of an early game change there. Nemesis, is it Nemesises or Nemesi? I don't know. Her Retribution increased the damage reflect from 30 to 50% of damage received to 50% at all ranks, and increased the healing from 80 to 100% is now 100% at all ranks. Naja Universe Ring Toss increased the damage reduction of subsequent hits on the same target from 25% to 35%, and decrease the slow from 25% to 12.5%. This effect can now stack up to 2 times. Whoa, okay. Major changes to Nike as well. To Victory, bonus power decreased from 4 to 8%, is now 1 to 3%. Bonus movement speed decreased, used to be 2 to 6, is now 1 to 2%. Rend, this ability now always fires 3 times. Plan of Action, a full ability rework. I want to see what they have to say for this one, actually. The full kit. Looking at kit, the passive is a major contributor to her incredible win rate, but isn't something players feel, so her just in this fire, we need to plan of. Okay, all abilities will now benefit from their Plan of Action version as their base form with a few numerical adjustments. Plan of Action is being replaced with a new ability. Okay. Gives Nike the ability to lead the charge for her team and protect herself and allies from incoming attacks. Enemy ranged basic attacks are absorbed by her, and enemies that get too close will be repelled away and dealt damage. When this effect ends, the barrier will collapse and deal damage in a large area. This ability now solidifies Nike's role as a frontline warrior who takes on. Okay, I like this. This is interesting. So Nike conjures a protective barrier in front of her that blocks ranged basic attacks. While channeling the barrier, Nike's movement and rotation are limited. Enemies who get near her and the barrier are damaged and knocked back. At any point, Nike can refire the ability to collapse the barrier and deal damage to enemies in a large area in front of her, or I guess if it just expires. After 6 seconds, she moves 50% slower while channeling, and the refire damage is a single hit at the end of the ability. It's going to be 60 to 285 and 50% of your physical power, so it's a pretty decent hit. Pulse damage on shield is going to be 10 to 30 plus 5% of your physical power per hit plus a knockback effect. Cooldown is 15 seconds at all ranks, and the mana cost is 60, 65, 70, 75, and 80. So full rework there. Valiant Leap, this ability now always travels at the faster speed. Sentinel of Zeus, this ability no longer goes on cooldown if Nike... Whoa, wait, what? No longer goes on cooldown if Nike dies during the warm-up time, gain shield. Wait, if Nike dies during the warm-up time, gain shield immediately. Okay. Increase the damage shield health amount from 20 to 40% of max health to 30 to 50% of max health. Note that the shield health does not increase from plan of action. Odin's Raven's Shout. Decrease the cooldown from 15 seconds at all ranks. Now scales down from 15 to 11. Oleron's Overflowing Divinity. Fixed a bug with the damage fall off. Did not affect the magical power scaling. Increase the base damage per shot from 30 to 70 is now 35 to 95. Increase the magical power scaling per shot from 10% to 15. Hitting the same enemy with each shot now deals 20% less damage per shot, increased from 10. And decrease the minimum damage that each shot can do from 20 to a total of 10%. This will cause shots to more quickly decay and damage while lowering the lowest damage that they can deal. The projectiles now start randomizing the hit location from the second projectile, increased from the 5th. For Rom, his Astral Barrage shifted the damage of each successive shot does from 50 to 100% is now 70 to 100, a little more early game. Reduce the damage from 200 to 600 plus 60% is now 180 to 540 plus 55%. Note that this keeps the total damage from all 3 shots very close to before and after this damage. I guess it's more of an adjustment. Scotty, Calder. If Calder has 0 HP, Scotty gains 10% increased physical power. Increase Calder's hit point regeneration from 7 seconds to 5 seconds. Winter's Grasp rework. Okay. Getting additional. Blah, blah, blah. Finally, the ultimate is reworked. Rather than Calder immediately being restored to health and pulsing out an AoE Blizzard, Winter's Grasp now utilizes Calder with an aimable target. He will leap to that area, restoring his health on the way, and then root enemies and begin his pulsing damage upon arrival. This gives Scotty greater control over where Calder is going and increase the responsiveness in more chaotic fights. A sandstorm surrounds Scotty as she chooses a location for Calder to attack. If Calder is too far, he will leap there. Upon reaching the location, a snowstorm also surrounds Calder. The initial hit of either snowstorm roots enemies in the area, and Calder is restored to full health. The storm persists for 4 seconds while dealing damage to enemies every 0.5 seconds. You know, I'm sitting here thinking about it. When I played Scotty, I always had a frustration with her ultimate. It seems like I always utilized it at the wrong time, and maybe this was a reason. Maybe it needed reworked, or maybe I was just bad. That is a very good possibility. Thor's that never was able to say that. Fixed an issue where the players in max range would be hit by the initial hit, but not by the return hit. This ability should now properly hit players twice at max range. Berserker's Barrage rework. We had a lot of reworks. To arc lightning and nearby enemies. Okay, it doesn't really say much on it. The spin of his hammer around him, dealing damage to enemies and Thor spins his hammer around him, dealing damage to enemies in front of him up to 3 times, and those behind him up to 2 times. The final swing does extra damage. Thor is immune to knockup for the duration. Reduced cooldown from 11 seconds to 8 seconds. Reduce the mana cost from 65 to 85 is now 55 to 75. Damage per hit change from 20 to 100 is now 20 to 100 plus 45% is now 30 to 110 plus 40. And the final swing does 45 to 125 plus 60%. What did they say about this? Berserker's Barrage was previously a higher cooldown and long channel, making it unclear when it should be used and difficult to use properly. It has been reworked to be a quick and snappy 3-part hit with a low cooldown. Okay, because they seem like pretty much the same ability, and it kind of is to a sense. Anvil of Dawn, new component. After Thor lands from his ultimate, his hammer is infused with lightning for 6 seconds. During this buff state, each of his basic attacks and ability chain lightning to nearby enemy gods, damaging them with each hit. Initial target 20 to 60 plus 15% of your physical power per chain lightning, and the chain target 10 to 30 plus 7.5% of your physical power per chain lightning. Interesting. How many do we have? Got a couple left here. For Thoth, Hieroglyphic Assault ability tweaks. Every time an enemy god is hit by this ability, the ability's cooldown is reduced by 1 second. This can only proc once per ability fire. Reduce the damage per shot from 45 to 125 plus 25% is now 40 to 120 plus 20%. Hitting an enemy with this ability increases the damage they take from each subsequent shot by 20%. Ravon's 10-hand Shadow Fist decrease the cooldown from 16. I'm butchering this. Decrease the cooldown from 18 seconds to 16 seconds. There we go. Wasn't hard. And finally, Zeus, his passive added text to show the duration of charges and a detonation charge. After this ability is used, there is now a delay time of 0.3 seconds before the enemy is hit with damage. Okay, that's not too much of a delay time. It would definitely give them enough time to Aegis for sure if they know it's coming, but you would need to be quick with it. So that is going to be it for this video, guys. If you enjoyed it, be sure to drop a like and hit subscribe for more content. Like I said, I will link this patch. God, this was big. I didn't realize how huge this patch was until scrolling up. But like I said, I'll link this in the description if you want to read it yourself. And thank you for watching.